Well, he is the criminal playboy who preys on innocent women. He spies on them, then fleeces them. But now we've sent him from the penthouse to the outhouse.
It's the moment this wannabe Hugh Hefner and convicted drug dealer snaps and lashes out.
Well, there we go. Tony Rostis's parting gift.
A sleazy predator who loves taking advantage of young women and pushing our cameras around.
Hi Tony, Lisa from A Current Affair. Where are you moving to now? Are you going to pay back the money you owe?
Rude, I'm horrible, a creep.
And this is his much younger girlfriend and assistant, Brittany Palmer, or Brittany Lavelle, or Brittany Palmer Lavelle, depending on what name she's using on any given day.
Don't push me, Brittany. What's your problem? Why are you guys illegally letting?
Brittany Palmer is a compulsive liar who helps Tony Rostis fleece people of thousands of dollars, leaving their victims abandoned in the street.
Pretty selfish and they're pretty inhumane.
Why do you lie so much? Why do you lie?
It's not between me, it's between him.
For the last year, this con man has been living the high life in this luxury penthouse. He sublet rooms to young women without the permission of his landlord, and then wired up a network of cameras to keep an eye on the girls.
He calls us his Playboy bunnies.
But now the conniving fraudster's antics have been caught on camera for the world to see, as his young flatmates speak out about his bullying, intimidation, and his spending of their money on flashy restaurants, internet dating, and illegal drugs.
I know that Tony did take drugs and he had people who provided him with drugs.
Can you tell us what you're doing with the rent money, Tony? $20,000? What about Rebecca's money that you didn't pay her, Tony?
Finally, Tony Rostis's fairy tale is ending with no happy ending for him. We can now reveal the truth about who he really is, how he's rorted the system to live in this penthouse for free, all the while earning a living by re-renting bedrooms he shouldn't be. Now he's being evicted, trading this $1 million view for this one.
Tony, how's your Playboy lifestyle going? You got him from the penthouse to the outhouse, haven't you, mate?
I think his life have just gone too far and didn't really think that anyone would catch on to what he was doing, and we did.
So who is this deluded predator? Well, his full name is Anthony David Rostis, but he also goes by aliases Eric Barry Ryan, David Thomas Parker, Peter Collins, and Anthony Ross.
Who are you today, Tony? What's your real name? Peter Collins?
He has a checkered past, including jail time for drug matters. When using the name Eric Barry Ryan, he pleaded guilty to aggravated possession of cannabis and possession of equipment for producing cannabis. The judge rejected his claims the 114 plants were for his personal use and sentenced him to 18 months behind bars, suspended after 3. And when using the name David Thomas Parker, he was also found guilty of presenting valueless cheques.
I don't think he had the money that he made out that he actually had.
Rebecca Ashworth was hired by Tony Rostis as a cleaner, but he didn't pay her.
And told me that the reason he hadn't paid me is because I ruined a towel and some t-shirts.
She says Brittany Palmer and Tony Rostis both lied to her through texts and emails. After demanding her money, Tony told her he'd report her to the police for importing steroids.
He sent me one back with a lot of abuse, telling me that I had hatched a plan to be a drug smuggler.
But Rebecca says it was Tony Rostis who was abusing drugs.
Like one day he texted me asking me to come in, and I came in and he was in bed in the dark, hiding under his covers, saying that he was ill. Anyway, I found out off Brittany that he'd had some drugs the day before.
Rebecca's claims are backed up by other young women who've contacted A Current Affair. They say Tony Rostis illegally pocketed their rent money while Brittany Palmer covered for him, and that it was common knowledge he did drugs.
One night, all the roommates made Tony a cake for his birthday, but we had to get him out of his room. So we said, "Oh, come out here, the management lady is here." And he freaked out and flushed all his drugs down the toilet. He slammed the door in our faces, and the next day he said we need to apologise for that because he flushed his drugs.
Tony, Tim from A Current Affair.
Yeah, sure.
We'd like to ask you some questions about this little penthouse mansion you're running.
No problem.
Can you tell us how many people you've got here?
When we first busted Tony Rostis, he'd lured Jewel, Amber and Cody into the penthouse he was squatting in. The only problem was Tony Rostis moved more and more girls into the same bedrooms. He rigged up security cameras, banned visitors and created extreme house rules. Despite a current affair rescuing the girls from the apartment he called his Playboy mansion,
Thank you heaps. Really appreciate it after all the stuff we've been through.
Tony Rostis still tried to pursue them for money even after they'd left, a tactic that ultimately failed.
I don't think he'll stop until he does some time or gets hit hard.
Stephen Jarvis and his friend are two men who also rented a room in the penthouse. While they say they were in the minority, Tony Rostis and Brittany Palmer's deceitful behaviour isn't limited to young women. In fact, Tony Rostis now owes the real owner more than $20,000 in unpaid rent, while also taking money from up to 8 tenants at a time.
It's just, well, a bit devastating really, when you work hard for your money and then they just take it and there's no remorse.
That's like it. Hollywood showgirls, it's $20. The guys, it's free for girls.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't have to pay.
Stephen filmed this video of Brittany Palmer talking about Tony Rostis's Playboy antics and how they like to gamble and visit strip clubs.
Well, Tony likes to go to the casino first.
He set up the camera to record a payment promise from Brittany of bond and excess rent money.
He gets lots of money on Thursday night. So give you it all in cash on Friday if you want.
But that's another con. Tony Rostis knew police were coming to the penthouse one day earlier to kick everyone out. Neither Brittany or Tony told anyone. Instead, they fled in the early hours of the morning.
I was woken up by the police coming in and they broke in the door. I didn't know what was going on.
Helen Stafford is one of the innocent young women kicked out and left on the street.
They knew they had to leave. They've known for a week. One of the police officers showed me an email and it was dated last Thursday and they haven't let any of us know.
Tony Rostis fled to another house co-owned by Brittany Palmer and her husband Alistair Lavelle. But that marriage is now over and the camera-shy stars of this story are now together.
It was bizarre because he's old enough to be her dad. It was weird.
Despite their intimate personal relationship, in court, Tony Rostis claims Brittany Palmer is just his bookkeeper.
I'm not doing anything wrong, guys.
But why are you helping Tony?
I'm not.
You are. You were there last time taking rent from him. And now you're running away.
Intent on avoiding the truth, Brittany Palmer calls police claiming we assaulted her.
Brittany, we never touched you.
Yeah, Tim grabbed my boobs.
Oh.
In fact, the only assault that occurred during the filming of this story was outside court when we questioned Tony Rostis. Pushing me over, Tony Rostis drenches me in water, desperate to keep his face off TV.
Hi, Tony. Do you have a towel I could borrow, mate?
And neither he or Brittany Palmer will now answer their door.
Tony, Brittany, how come you never told anyone the police were coming and they had to move out?
Tony Rostis is now claiming he has a new home to rent out, but he's also been caught on CCTV, suspected of breaking back into the penthouse garage. And he's also on Facebook with Brittany, running a key duplication service. The penthouse's real owner, meanwhile, is pursuing the conman for the unpaid rent. But a court has heard the fraudster is also behind in child maintenance payments to his kids. None of this surprises his victims.
If he doesn't like you, you'll know about it.
And the real owner of the penthouse has reported the alleged break-in to Queensland Police, who are now investigating.